I've got a lovely bunch of BattleBots, diddly-dee-dee, there they are, all fighting in a row.
Bum, bum, bum.
Spin one, flip one, some as big as your head.
Sarah, stop it.
I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlebots, welcome back to the Shuntcast. We're back. Hi.
Hi.
We have two guests again this week. Aren't we lucky?
Yes, very much so.
We're also going to have a game this week, and that is that our listeners have to count how many times Dale says yes.
Yes.
Let's introduce our guest. Our first guest, well, some say that this man's name sounds like a vacation spot for vicious and angry angle grinders, and that his belt is a waste of space. Terrible joke, 3 stars. All we know is he was the captain of the Skorpios team. It's Orion's belt! I mean, Beach.
Hi, it's Orion.
How you doing, dude?
Alright, back up in my normal climate, not getting roasted down in Los Angeles, so that's good.
How's the post-BattleBots come down?
I've only designed 2 other robots that aren't Skorpios since BattleBots, so I think I'm doing good.
That's not too bad. Well, I better get on to introducing our second guest, and some say that this woman is so badass that she could have defeated the entire Roman army armed only with a butter knife and a tampon. And that she created the universe on a whim and let this dude called God take the credit for it. All we know is she gets really excited when she wins. It's Jen Herchenroeder!
Hello!
Hey, Jen!
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. Jen BattleBots.
BugleBots.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Well, we don't like to muck about on the Shuntcast, so we're going to get straight into the fight, which starts off conveniently with the Stingy Boy Skorpios versus the meaty drum of Copperhead. So, Jen, I'm going to come to you first. You were so excited after this fight.
Oh, absolutely. I know Zach and Casey from Copperhead, they build very good robots, and they had a very beefy drum spinner on the front of that angry little snake, and there was no doubt in my mind that it was going to do damage. And I've been welding for a long time. I have over 15 years of shop experience, and I've been welding for 9 years. So I have like a certain amount of faith in my ability to do things, but I live in terror that I'm not actually as good as I think I am. So the whole time leading up to the first fight, I'm like, just don't let any welds break. Just don't let any welds break. I made it through the first fight, and like literally none of the welds broke, which was awesome. But we also won, which is even better.
Yay! So, Orion, how did it feel having Zach at the helm? Because you weren't captaining this time.
Yeah, I was not captaining, and I was also not driving, so it was definitely different to watch the robot go without me driving it. But I did have a bit of the wrist ouchies, so I was actually kind of glad to not have to be driving. In some ways, not captaining felt great, because there's just so much, as you know, that goes into these things, and so many moving parts in a team, and so many cats to herd. Yeah. But after that fight, it did feel really good. That was definitely a come from behind win for us. I really liked when we hit them in the back, kind of like our final big shot, and they flipped forward over their front after being hit into the arena floor. I enjoyed the heck out of that.
Dale, did you enjoy this fight?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty good how how a non-flipper robot ended up with a flip to win the fight. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna move on to Bloodsport versus Lucky. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and admit this is a fight of newbies versus veterans, and my money was definitely on Lucky for this one. And then Lucky was a bit sad, and the newbies took a very convincing win.
Well, unlucky, you could say.
Yeah, you could.
I did.
You did. Jen, did you enjoy this fight?
I did enjoy this fight. I thought it had a fair few surprises, and like many other builders who are also fans, I follow other teams and I follow their social media and when they post videos online. And leading up to the competition this year, I was watching videos being posted by Bloodsport, and there were times where I thought, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Like they seem to be moving fast, and they seem to have a goal in mind, but some of the choices they made I thought might be a bit more YOLO than is good for a heavyweight robot that can do serious damage. But they pulled it out. They showed up. They got lucky. They got lucky, like literally and figuratively. Lucky has been having sort of unlucky moments and unlucky streaks for a while. And I think as a veteran team, they were sort of expected to do better. But it is a very different style of weapon and a very different style of driving. Bloodsport probably could have failed at any point during that match and didn't. The weapon went down and came back up. And I was talking to a friend of mine about power cycling, and like, you'd just be amazed how often just turning it off and on again literally is the thing that you have to do. But in the heat of the moment, you even forget that that's a possibility, and you're just jamming the throttle or jamming the control sticks like, please, come back. So I thought, considering it was their debut fight, great fight for them.
Yeah, definitely. Orion, did you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was a great back-and-forth battle, and there was definitely some different expectations. I'll say that I was not really impressed by this configuration that Lucky chose, with the basically no spatula, for lack of a better term, on their flipper. They just had the arm, and then the really high wedge. Like, I totally get, like, the decisions that got them there. They're fighting, an overhead bar spinner, so, bring that armor up, and, like, it's awesome to have that configuration. But it just didn't seem to work because they didn't have enough traction because they didn't have their back wheels to actually get them underneath. And in general... Yeah,
they never really got underneath them, did they?
Yeah, in general, I think that's something that Lucky isn't really great at, which is pushing a lot. Like, they mostly just get underneath their opponent, and once they get them just a little bit up, the flipper can do its job. But getting someone that far up on the wedge is kind of difficult. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm a Flipper fan, and it was a bit sad for Flipper fans, this fight.
Yeah, Bloodsport was very impressive. It definitely did the thing. I felt bad for the Lucky guys because I know they put in a lot of work in the off season, making extra frames and having all these configurations to go through. And I want to see them do well. I want to see everyone do well. It doesn't work out that way, but. Impressive first fight from Bloodsport. I mean, they had a little bit of new robotitis, but not too bad.
Dale, what did you think?
I thought it was quite good how there was an out of the arena, even if it was just a wedge. Pretty good fight.
Yeah, I mean, as a newbie team, I was certainly impressed with Bloodsport. My money was on Lucky, and as a Flipper fan, I was sad. But however, we then move on to free shipping versus Hydra, and this Flipper did not disappoint. Free shipping became airmail. Did you enjoy this one, Dale?
Not really. For a free shipping fight, I thought it was not as good as other ones in the past. But, yeah.
Yes, it was sad from a free shipping perspective.
I was excited to see free shipping, but then it turned into, well, what you thought.
Jen, what did you think?
I do wish they had been able to keep wheels on the ground a little bit more and do a little bit more of the lifting. But this was Hydra's debut, and Hydra is a phenomenal robot in terms of new technology and trying something that hasn't been done before. If I had to place money at the beginning of the match on who would win, I probably would have placed money on free shipping because they have had more development time, and both teams are equally veteran. And because Gary Jin, because he's incredible.
Orion, what did you think of it?
I will say I did see the test stuff of Hydra, pre-season, like a lot of people did, and so I was expecting those big flips. I kind of wish I saw a couple more of them, but I get there was some miscommunication with the manual pump operation. Yeah, it was an interesting fight. I was definitely expecting it to be a closer wedge battle. I thought for sure the multi-articulated wedge that Gary had chosen for free shipping was going to get underneath Hydra, and I know that setup is super good, especially for an uneven arena floor, but it just didn't seem to happen. Hydra was able to get underneath, sneaky little wedge flipper, and make it happen.
So we're going to go on to the Battle of Britain. Monsoon versus Ragnarok. The rivalry that is not a rivalry, because Tim and Tom are so wholesome and lovely, and they really, really love each other. But at least it didn't get split in half, so Tweedy's got that going for him. Jen, what do you want to do in versus Ragnarok?
It could have been better. And Ragnarok's again another new robot. Jack Tweedy was trying to, do something bigger and better than he had last year. He pulled a good team together. There was every chance that this was going to be a very interesting fight where Monsoon would be delivering a lot of damage, but that damage was going to be soaked by a wedge. And if they could sort of outlast the damage that was being done to them and maybe take out a wheel or, do some good maneuvering, it looked like it had the potential to be an interesting fight. But Hammerbots have certain weaknesses, and also sometimes you just have gremlins on the new robots, especially when the electronics take a little bit of damage they weren't expecting or get debris clogged inside. I'm not actually sure what the failure mode specifically was for Ragnarok, but I know everyone who was watching, no one was really mad. Everyone was like, that could have... yeah.
Yeah, it was just disappointing, wasn't it? And I felt for Tim. I think it was a receiver issue in the end. I think that's what I've picked up, because I've slept since then. I'll be honest. But Orion, what did you think?
It was over too soon.
Oh, he went there. Get out now.
We just want to see more fighting. I think that's what we all want to see.
You know what's a good way to win? Splitting your opponent in half.
Yes.
Railgun Max. That's a good way to win. Mad Catter kind of did a Kit Kat.
It did break off the teeth.
It did. It's got a split personality now. Oh.
Love it.
I'm sorry. It's not as bad as Too Soon, so Orion is not allowed to judge me right now. Okay, so do you know we love Martin Mason though?
Very much
Isn't
so,
he
yes.
a character?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's not really much to say about Mad Catter versus Railgun Max, other than the fact that Railgun Max just...
Although I love
really.
the team's intro as well, because yes, the eggs on the egg beater, and they did it staring at the camera, making eye contact while doing this adorable skit. I love the attitude that they had coming in, because they have a serious robot that deals serious damage, but they are still there to have fun, and I think that's definitely the right attitude when it comes to all these competitions. Because if you don't love it, you're gonna have a bad day.
So if I may move on to Breakerbox versus Falcon. Dale.
It was okay, but just during the whole episode.
No,
it was just like I say. It was just,
explain yourself.
Falcon had a good idea, but it just didn't really work well as I thought it would do. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was okay, but not great. All I can really say.
Fair enough. Jen, do you have anything to add to that?
That we all know Waiachi as a team, we have various expectations for them, and sort of with expectations, anything short of being amazing was going to feel disappointing. So I want to kind of couch anything I say with the understanding that this was still a new robot, even team, and they were trying a new design that's difficult to pull off. Breakerbox, as an object, it has a lot of the same characteristics of Duck, where it's low and it's dense, and it has a good chance to get under opponents. It has a good chance to do lifting and either ring out or do a little bit of tossing damage to opponents, but it wasn't really... It didn't have that pizzazz. For my money, Breakerbox was a little bit squarish.
It reminded me of Snappy from BattleBots.
In terms of the fight, there was a lot of potential. Jim Spentowski is a legendary builder, broadest nightmare, and at the same time, we've got the legendary Waiachis. Everyone knows these names, so I think we were all expecting something really spectacular, and the fight itself just didn't live up to our own hype.
This could have been an amazing fight, and it had some moments in it, particularly when Falcon was riding around on top of Breakerbox. I did enjoy that.
That was great, by the way.
Yeah, and Breakerbox just ran into a wall and launched Falcon into the wall that way. I'm all for surprising moments like that. But yeah, I can't believe they didn't make some kind of utter gun tie-in thing. Like, they have the utter gun with, like, the dual rollers for, cleaning cow teats and stimulating them before milking. Where's your giant cow teat for this robot? Like, come on. It could have been the weapon safety.
I never thought I'd hear that
Asking the important questions.
said about BattleBots. Where is your giant cow teat? You heard it here on the Shuntcast, ladies and gentlemen. So this fight was kind of sad. Fortunately, the main event more than made up for it, and it certainly made up for the sort of sad main event from last week as well. So we have Bite Force versus Yeti, and Yeti was looking awesome.
But what it was quite good, yeah.
I think all of us, again, we know Paul Ventimiglia, we know Bite Force. That is a really well-oiled machine of a team. They come in early, they stay late, they work on the robot constantly, and they win. They just win. It's what they do. And Bite Force has been kind of since it went vertical, it's been kind of the same design for a while, so they have a reliable system to know what needs to get repaired between fights. They do well. Yeti's more, in this case, felt like an underdog, but Yeti is still a very powerful robot with a heavy large drum on the front, and there was every chance in the world that drum was going to catch something important on Bite Force, and we were going to see a big upset. I think, for my money, that was a fantastic fight because it was constantly back and forth. Bite Force was, at times, it looked like he was running to get a better position to try to turn around and make a hit. The fact that any robot could make Bite Force seem to be on the run, even for a moment, is like very exciting. I thought it was great. I know that there was a point where Yeti and Bite Force got locked up with the broken fork on Yeti on the front. And I feel like that's just a comedy moment for me. I just enjoy that in my mind, like, two titans locked in mortal combat, and then Trey walks into the ring with a crowbar, like, all right, boys, break it up.
They definitely both put on a good show and exchanged some big hits in the arena and chased each other around and generally did everything that we want in an entertaining fight. It was well deserving of a main event, and both of them did really well. And if you're in Greg Gibson's position, it's kind of like a no-lose situation. Like, you just got to go in there and show your best. Because if you lose to last year's champion, like, that's not really like a loss unless the fight stinks.
Yeah, it's a noble loss, isn't it? So yeah, I think everyone enjoyed this main event, certainly in comparison to last week. So, final question of this section is, how many bananas out of 10 would you give this
Skorpios
episode?
Was the...
Jen?
Oh, wait, pardon me. Given all the details, I'd say this was a 10 out of 10 banana fight.
Oh, definitely
Awesome.
10 out of 10.
I'm going to say 9 out of 10. Because I'm not on Skorpios.
Ooh. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 because Jen could take on the Roman army with a butter knife and a tampon. So I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. Woo! So we're going to move on to the Shuntposting Awards. First up, we have, of course, the John Reed Good Hit of the Night Award. We have 3 nominations for this. We have Railgun Max splitting Mad Catter in half, Hydra turning free shipping into airmail, or Falcon making Breaker Box flip so many times in that really big hit towards the start. So we'll go with Orion first. Who do you want to vote for?
I'm going to go for a Railgun Max, splitting Mad Catter in half.
Did a Kit Kat.
Did a Kit Kat.
Jen, who would you like to vote for?
Well, I'll tell you, there was one fight that was reminiscent of one of my all-time favorite fights that happened in Season 3, which was Valkyrie versus Red Devil, in which Valkyrie dissected Red Devil, and we had zombie parts of robots running around the arena, which is one of the best fights, one of the most entertaining pieces of television I have ever seen. And I gotta go with Railgun Max and Mad Catter, because I just love moments like that. It was so fun to watch.
That's very true. Dale, what about you?
I'll tell you what, I think Mad Catter being split in half was pretty good.
I mean, you're not wrong. It was awesome. I mean, I'm gonna have to make it unanimous on that basis because I mean, how could I not? So Congratulations, Railgun Max. You are the John Reed Good Hit of the Night Award for episode 3 for splitting Mad Catter in half. Woohoo!
Ooh.
I mean, I did like Hydra's flip, but they missed a number of good hit opportunities in there.
They did not wait for a good flip. So, onto the Salt-Powered Robot Award. There was no sort of really controversial judges' decisions or anything like that in this episode. So for this episode, we will define salty as something that made you as a fan feel salty. So like, for example, a robot's performance, which is why the 3 nominations for this one are Copperhead, Ragnarok, and Lucky, all underperforming. We'll go for Jen first.
For my money, I'm gonna go with Ragnarok. I know Jack Tweedy did not have. He had a couple of big hits on the receiving end last year, and he came back with a brand new robot. And I know how frustrating it is to have new robot problems or electronics problems or gremlins, as we like to call them. And I think we were all hoping to see in the Monsoon Ragnarok fight, Monsoon dealing a lot of damage and Ragnarok soaking a lot of damage on that big wedge. And that fight just didn't pan out the way we were hoping, so that's my pick. That's my salty robot right there.
Dale, what about you?
I'm going to have to go with Ragnarok because I don't want Tim to riot again.
Okay, Orion?
Oh, I'm definitely going with Lucky. I was not impressed with that configuration that they had for Bloodsport. Such disappoint.
Fair enough. Well, I think my British loyalty and my Shuntposting loyalty to Tim is going to have to kick in here. So, congratulations, Ragnarok. You are the episode 3 Salt-Powered Robot Award winner. Yay!
Yay!
Congrats.
Congrats, Tim. So, on to the Shunty McShuntpost Award. Who was the most memeable? We have 5 nominations for this one, one of which I've included just for Orion, so that he doesn't riot either. So we have Tom's Tease, Tim's Riots, Mad Catter being a Kit Kat, Railgun Max's Egg Beater, or Falcon riding Breaker Box. I'm going to go to Orion, seeing as you made me put in one.
Well, it definitely has to be Falcon riding Breaker Cup onwards to Shuntpostery.
That's lovely. Jen, who are you going to go for?
I like Tom's tease on this one. It's very memeable. It's very British. It's very Shuntpost. It has all the features.
Dale?
Yep, I'm drinking a cup of tea right now and I can't.
I'm going to go with Tom's tease as well. So, congratulations, Tom Brewster. Your tea drinking gets the Shunty McShuntpost Award for episode 3.
Woo!
Yay!
We.
Okay. Wee! When I say tea, you say?
Brew!
Okay, so onto the member questions, and I'm going to remember my phrasing this time. Dale is going to ask Jen questions, and I am going to ask Orion questions. So, are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Orion, is the name Origin really Rufio from Hook, from Rara?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. It is intentional that there are 3 syllables to cheer, just like Rufio. There is Skorpios. That is 100% intentional on the name.
Jen.
Yes.
When BattleBots?
Very soon. Should be Jen BattleBots.
Good point.
Orion, where did the idea for a spinning disc come from this season?
Definitely me being salty about the referee and the rule enforcement past season. So, especially when it comes to pinning, there was all sorts of ambiguity as far as like how long we could grapple and saw on our opponents. And one of the whole reasons why I built a saw robot as opposed to anything else is for season 2, the way that I interpreted the rules is we could potentially have up to 30 seconds of saw time. Now, they did slightly differently enforce that in season 2, and even more so in Season 3 to have less time. And for Season 4, they actually changed the rules and just allowed the referees to stop action whenever they wanted without any kinds of counting. So it was me being salty, like, do you want vertical spinners? This is how you get vertical spinners.
So you're essentially saying that Skorpios is a salt-powered robot?
Indeed, salt-powered.
Jen, you are an inspiration to female roboteers. What advice would you give to those finding their feet?
Oh, wow. Well, first, thank you for saying, though. That's so nice of you. There's a lot of different paths to get to making robots, and there's a lot of different directions you can come from. If building robots is something that you are interested in, you just gotta find a place to start. And for me, that was like having junk and making junk do new and interesting things. I didn't grow up with what they call money or resources, so creativity became a big part of how I build and what I look for in a build. I would say if you're looking for the skills you need to build small robots, go to a makerspace and play with 3D printers, play with laser cutters, and figure out how to make the parts that you want for your robot. It's actually really easy once you figure out the basic skills. All of the next sets of skills come easier. So there's a stiff learning curve at first, but once you're in, you just keep adding new skills all the time, and the more you build, the easier it gets and the more fun you have doing it. So there's that. If you're doing heavyweight robots, you're looking for things like metalworking skills, you can still check out makerspaces or community centers or places that have these tools available for use. So, yeah, find the people who have the tools and be their friends. And that's the best way to get in.
Awesome. Orion, what is your favorite beach?
Okay, so it's the smallest bay in California, and it's called Heart's Desire, and it's a little cove. It doesn't have big waves or anything, but it's one of the few places in Northern California that you can actually get in the ocean and not be.
We have the English Channel back here. I've swum in that, and it's not pleasant. I imagined that California water would be warmer.
Cold.
You would think so, but on this coast, we get all our water coming down from Alaska, and yeah, it's cold.
As an East Coaster, I find this offensive because around this time of year in Ocean City, Maryland, you can just go jump in the water and it's great, and you cannot do that in San Francisco. You need a wetsuit and scuba gear. You have to be prepared for that.
You guys are pussies. I'm using the English Channel. I've got in the English Channel in my bikini on Christmas Day, right? Oh, sorry, I digress. I'm sorry. Dale, do you have another question for Jen?
I do, yes. Jen, which is louder, Skorpios' disc or your scream?
That's an excellent question. And if you haven't seen one of these big robot competitions live, and you have the ability to do so, please come out and see a live event, because one of the things that I think doesn't come through on the television is just how loud some of these impacts are. We have two 250-pound machines ramming into each other full speed with spinning weapons or flippers. Sometimes the impacts sound like car accidents happening right in front of you. It's just a tremendous amount of force, and I may still be louder than that. Seeing the playback, I absolutely lost my gourds. When we won, I could have died happy right there. My lungs left my chest. It was incredible. It was the best feeling.
Orion, what's your favorite fight that you've ever had at BattleBots?
It definitely has to be our Season 3 fight Skorpios against Icewave. It didn't really go to plan, but there was a lot going on, and I was really proud of the way that the robot held up to all that destruction. We won by judge's decision, and there was a bunch of saltiness that was caused by that. And QQ cry more. That's what happens when it goes to the judges. And I think one of the reasons why it's my favorite fight is immediately after that, Mark said that was my first 3-minute fight ever. So he usually knocks someone out or knocks himself out, in that amount of time. I did get him to say some naughty words as well, so that was pleasant.
Jen, How does
I'm
it
here
feel
for you.
to be a mod on Shuntposting?
I gotta say, it's been quite fun. So I'm very new on the Shuntposting mod level. I've been in Shuntposting for a long time, and it's definitely, it has brought me joy on really bad days. No lie. Some of the jokes and memes and puns that get posted are absolutely cheerful and bring a smile to my face, and it's worth it. What I think is really interesting is that and every group of moderators is going to have their own chat, and being on the back end is also hilarious because every single person in Shuntposting has some wicked sense of humor. So the mod chat has been another source of humor and absurdity. So I'd say overall, 10 out of 10, very positive experience.
Yay!
Yay!
She loves us, Dale!
Yay!
Yay! Orion, how did it feel watching Zach at the helm of Skorpios when you have previously been the one driving?
I really want to drive. That's one of the things I learned this season. I really want to drive the robot. I will say I did have a serious case of repetitive strain injury, which would have not been so great for actually doing the driving, despite my great want to do the driving.
Orion, tell the people how many hours of CAD Skorpios Season 4.
All told, in between pre-selection, mad building time, mad build time and design up time, and actually at the event CADing stuff, even with my repetitive strain injury, there's probably about 1,000 hours worth of computer-aided drafting time in Skorpios.
Ew.
Yeah.
Y'all can keep that.
Jen, who would win, Eric or Branko?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Okay, but so here's the thing. This is absurd, and I love it. There's a sort of power that comes from belief, and I don't mean like the weird, gross way that things that are not true politically become true because of belief. I mean like in a more metaphysical way. Like things take on spirits or spiritual value because people believe in them. So this rock becomes special because a child picked it up and decided that it was special. And in that way, Eric has been around for so long that it's absorbed so much of this belief, the metaphysical shuntiness, that it over Branko, it just has to win. Branko is a young god, and Eric is an old god. We gotta go with
It's like
Eric.
a veteran versus a newbie.
Yeah.
Okay, so Orion, here's your last question, and like I say, these questions are sent in by the members, and we take no responsibility for the quality of them. So, on that note, your question is: Snog, marry, avoid Will Bales in a mankini, Al Kindle in a tutu, or a sunburnt John Reed?
Yikes. Well, I guess I'm marrying Will Bales in a mankini. He's so dreamy.
Oh,
So dreamy.
I'm gonna avoid Al Kindle in a tutu, which means I'm snogging a sunburned John Reed.
Let us know how that works out for you.
The beards collide. This is what it's like.
Oh, dear. Aren't you glad you did the Shuntcast?
Quality.
Yeah.
We ask the important questions here.
Speaking of which, Jen, if you were to describe yourself using a John Reed absolutely meme, which one would you pick?
Absolutely adorkable. I don't think anyone cannot take myself seriously for more than like 5 minutes at a time.
I'll make sure I get it made up.
Oh, not absolutely Jen, Eric.
Oh man, that's there's so many memes crammed into that one pun. That's incredible.
Well, on that note, that's the end of the questions, and I'm afraid that's the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Mwah, mwah.
Well, good night.